Hello, beautiful people. This is Bamby Salcedo, greeting you and sending you so much love and appreciation. And welcome to the Fearless People podcast with Bamby Salcedo. Before we start, I want to acknowledge the land where we're standing on today, where the land where you may be at. Um, I am here in Tangbalan in Los Angeles. And this time that we're together, I want to invite the four elements that ignite our being. I hope that our conversation sparks the fire that we all have within and that inflames all of our listeners to understand and to take action. I hope that the water will help our conversation and thoughts to flow freely with no limitations or barriers. I hope that the wind inspires all of us to deliver the message that our people needs to listen to today, and that it penetrates our hearts and the minds, and that it will continue to provide the strength that we all need to continue to move forward in this world. And with much humbleness, I also would like to call upon Mother Earth, who continue to provide for all of us to exist. And we ask our Mother Earth to feed us with strength and power, and that we feed the soul of the people who are listening today. It is with great honor that we invoke the spirit of our ancestors to guide us and to give us the strength, intelligence, and tenacity to continue to move forward in this world, and for all of us to continue to fight for what is right for all of our peoples. Today, I have the distinct honor and privilege to have not just a dear friend, but a beautiful and amazing soul who has enlightened many of us, including myself, with just his light and his spiritual fire. And welcome, my dear.
Thank you.
Alex Escoto.
Thank you.
Our friend, the friend of our people.
Thank you.
Our sibling of our people.
It's a blessing to be here, to joy to be here. Thank you. Thank you for calling out my name and allowing the ancestors to guide me and to bring me to this space and this moment of time.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time, and for, I'm so glad that you were available, and, for us to have this conversation.
Yeah.
And, I'm so grateful to you for everything that you've done for me personally, but also for all of our community, particularly the trans community here in Los Angeles. And so please know that you're so much loved and appreciated. But we want to know about you.
How much time do we have?
We have time for you to let us know who you are, where you're coming from, how is it that you got to be the amazing and beautiful Reverend of the Metropolitan Community Church.
Thank you. Well, I stepped out of the Catholic Church when I was in high school because I confessed my homosexuality. I had dreams to the Catholic priest, to two of them,
I see.
to two Catholic priests, and one very gentle just told me, "Don't think about men and don't masturbate." And I was like,
how old were you?
I was like 16, 15.
It was that time.
It was that time. It's normal, natural.
Right.
But for someone who who was very ingrained in the church, I was so devoted at that young age. Mm-hmm. The other priest was always very cranky, and he told me I was going to hell. That was it. I was going to hell. So you tell someone who doesn't have the emotional capacity to understand, because I didn't understand who I was. Mm-hmm. I was isolated in a very Latinx household, very Catholic. Uh-huh. The firstborn in both families. Uh-huh. Imagine. Y en la comunidad hispana latina, cuando tienes el primogénito, que es varón, there's a lot of expectations. Girl.
I can totally relate to that. Because I'm the second born. I was supposed to be the man of the house.
Yeah.
So totally relate to that. But also, you're touching on this, right? Like, you're a teenager. All teenagers will go through this exploration process, right?
Yes, yeah.
But then when you have this sort of like, like this encountering thoughts of your sexuality, it
And no
we're
one
looking for support, right?
Yeah, no one to go to. So we're talking, I was born in 64. So 64, 75, I have to like count, right? 64, 74.
Right.
So we're talking like
80s, like the 80s.
Late 70s, 80s. No role models, no organization, no Bambis,
Oh,
no centers, nothing.
right.
Las novelas siempre tenían los homosexuales como criaturas torcidas.
Of course, yes.
Y mi mamá como hacía burla, and that would make me feel bad. My mom would say, stop, pare de caminar con la mano chueca. No cruces las piernas. I said, pero mi tío lo va a hacer. Regaño a él también, ¿verdad?
Right.
And then I get busted, But, and so then I went to college seeking acceptance. I received many answers. I attended groups, but I also looked for acceptance in all the wrong places. And it was then when I became addicted to drugs, heavy in alcohol, and heavy in sex. And I would meet guys who would pick me. And then there was a time when I was homeless. So the whole, sex for sale, just to survive, and this was a long, long time ago. So,
but it was also when the AIDS epidemic,
when it was starting. It was
Right?
starting, yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand it. I was beginning to understand me, but I didn't quite know the complexity because I was so isolated, right? And so I started to work at a department at UCLA as part of the work program for the school. And it so happened that one of the individuals working in that department was the music director for the church, for MCC.
Oh.
And he kept inviting me to go to church. And I was like, I don't want to go to church. I don't want to go to church. In fact, when I left the Catholic Church, I attended all kinds of non-Catholic services.
Trying to find that place.
I even went to Church of Scientology, que Dios me salve, back then.
Dios salve a todas estas almas.
I mean, I'm Buddhist, Hindu, everything that had nothing to do with Christianity. And
because at that time, it seemed like
I got pushed out.
But it seemed like in your journey, you were trying to find that the spiritual or the religious support, right?
Yeah. And by that time, religion had nothing to do with it. And I was struggling with my own spirituality,
because of the messages that you heard.
Yeah. And so that broke me. My mom and our relationship broke for 15 years. And so it wasn't until I approached her 15 years later when I was HIV positive. And so she blamed herself. And she's like, mijo, regrésate a la casa. Te lavo la ropa. Te hago tu comida. Yo te voy a cuidar. And I was like, Mom, I'm not dying. Besides, by that time, I had already met Ramiro. And Ramiro and I are separated now. We had a wonderful 22-year relationship. But we were just starting it. And my mom hated him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could imagine how difficult that would have been.
Yeah.
Like for your mom, and obviously, like that rupture that happened, right?
Yeah.
But also, like, you being vulnerable enough to tell her, like, this is my current situation.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, like, the guilt that she felt, right?
Yeah. The anger that I felt.
Right.
and blaming her, blaming a lot of people.
Yeah, but also like her trying to have you come back, right? Like
Yeah.
I assume, right? Like that is
No, yeah, and that's
what
exactly
happened.
it. Yeah, because Ramiro then would push me to call your mom, call Yamala, because she would always call. And slowly our relationship began to organically heal. So before she died, Rami was her best friend, was her son of honor. We would go visit her and they'd be talking. I'm like, I'm the son here.
Where am I in this picture?
And it was beautiful. So before she died, we went to go see her, and then days later she died. And she told Rami, take care of my son. And she knew that I would be in good hands. And so she knew that she can go. She wasn't sick or anything, but we all had a feeling. When you've got that intuition, you got to tell people, let's talk about death. Let's talk about death, right? Or let's talk about life.
Yeah.
And so being part of the church, I attended at 19 years old. There was a sign at the entrance that to this day I cannot.
At MCC.
At MCC.
Okay.
It was on Hill Street in downtown.
Okay.
And we had 17 homes, I think, or 18 homes, right? And the sign said, Jesus died for your sins, not your sexuality.
Oh.
And
that
so
was a welcoming.
That was a sign that said, and I was like, what does that mean? But then I started to hear messages that were contrary to what I heard. And boy, did I cry. I cried. I don't know how many years I cried. I cried for myself. I cried for others. I cried because it didn't make sense and I wanted to understand. And I cried when I did understand. Right. And then slowly I just began to flourish. And because I was so involved as a young person in church, I had this innate ability to just connect. Initially, it was a false connection because it was based on ego. Look at me, I want the attention. And ultimately, it became where the Spirit just lit me up.
That's so beautiful. So did you go to school to?
They didn't make me, but I refused to be ordained. I refused to go to seminary because of the junk.
So you were encouraged to do.
Oh, yeah.
Who you were, how you were with people.
Yes.
And all of that.
They kept telling me, Alex, you got to go seminary. Alex, you got to, you're so good for this. You go. And I was like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Mm-hmm. And even being part of the church, for so long as a deacon, I know I'm no good. I'm no good. Mm-hmm. And then, going out being sexually active, of course, that's still, even though I understood that sex is a gift from God and we should enjoy it. Mm-hmm. It's not just for procreation. Let's enjoy it because it brings
such a beautiful feeling.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it feels so good to be touched and to just embrace and get the energy from the person,
to be connected, whether you're in a relationship or whether it's anonymous or or whether it's a weekly, just
I got my weeklies. Hello.
Me too. Just maybe edit it out, but I was like,
I love that. Yeah.
And so and so ultimately the founder of our church and the founder of our denomination is Reverend Troy Perry.
Yes.
And he's still alive. His health is not what it was. But when he retired as a moderator, so when I say moderator of the denomination, imagine the Catholic Church and the Pope. They have the Pope, right? Yes. Or major denominations have their spiritual. So he resigned, and in the process, he signed into their law 12 extraordinary ordinations, of which my name was submitted, and they never told me because they knew if they told me I would be pissed, and I'd say no, but secretly I wanted it.
Something deep inside of you,
something deep.
like I wish I could, but it was also the other something inside of you that was telling you, not, no, you cannot do
You're
it.
not good enough.
Right.
You have you have
The
you're
Jack
great.
Brother.
You can do it. We'll help you. And they're like, don't abandon
Right,
you.
right,
You're
right.
no good. You look at your life. You're a sinner. And I
You're
struggle.
not worthy.
You're not worthy. You're not worthy.
Mm.
And when it was announced, I was mad. And but then I was like,
Yeah, I know. I feel like there was something deep inside of you was also like grateful.
yeah.
Right?
But for many years, let me tell you, for many years, I would approach that pulpit and I tell people, I don't want this.
Mm.
And I still do it because I'm not the kind of person that would show up. And even if there's conflict, I don't care whether it's a church or organization, if there's trouble, I'm the kind of person that will show up and will stick it through because of the crap I went through.
Because that's what you're used to.
That's what I'm used to. And I'm used to surviving, or I'm used to
Yeah.
being resilient.
Yes. Yeah.
And resiliency is such a great spiritual tool, to be able to bounce back.
Tell me about that. Because it sounds like amazing. Like, I don't think people can really look at resiliency as a great spiritual tool. And what do you mean by that?
So I believe, and I know for a fact, that there are people who are completely resilient and may not even know it, may not even embrace it because they don't see themselves as someone that can face the challenges of life, the troubles of life, and become a little bit stronger because of it. Now, some people may crash and burn and then rise up from the ashes, like that hurt, but I feel better. I'm stronger. I have new insights from what I've learned. And so as a spiritual tool, because we give ourselves the ability to see, when we have that ability, we then become aware. And resiliency helps us to be aware and to be prepared, to know that I messed up and what I'm about to do feels like a mess up.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've already learned it, we have a choice, yes or no.
And so, like, you get to see life with a different perspective.
With a different perspective.
Right.
And even though, I may be involved in, life, whatever that may be, good or bad, even though you may be involved or others in the good and bad of life, some may be for pleasure, some may be because of consequences, some may be because we're willing to dare into it. And when we become resilient, we're not just a bouncing ball. We're a spiritual entity living a very human moment that bounces from one situation to another and acknowledges the lessons learned that make us richer spiritually and emotionally.
Well, that's what life is all about, right?
Exactly.
Life is all about experiences.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we have different experiences throughout our journey of life.
And some people go through it blindly, not learning. See,
Well, it's kind of like, what they say, right? Like, I'm sure you probably heard this saying, right? That says, like, doing the same things, expecting a different result.
Yeah.
And that is called insanity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And so I guess the purpose of life, right? And I guess the key to life is, how do you best deal with those situations, learn from those, and continue to grow.
Yeah.
Spiritually.
Yes. And another spiritual tool is not to judge. And judge and love. Judge, love, compassion, empathy. They're all intertwined. They're interconnected. And so, and part of our problem as human beings is we're so quick to judge ourselves. And in order to make ourselves feel better, Sometimes we even judge others.
Of course.
Of course,
we do.
all the major religions have something to say about it. In the Bible, Jesus says, "You've got a big stump in your eye. Don't be looking at someone else's stump. Look at the stump in your eye first and check it out." Right?
Or kind of like with this analogy that like people also say, like, when you point at me, like you have the others pointing at you, right?
Yes. And I've seen people go,
like
that don't work.
They don't want to deal with it.
Don't work. No.
Yeah. Like it's not how it is. Right?
And so the incredible responsibility, spirituality, our spiritual essence is a vibration. That's why I see it. It's a vibration, and that's why when you meet someone in vibe, there's something there. Now, I'm also one to believe in reincarnation. So, because how else can you explain meeting someone and let me tell you,
I know, that is so beautiful.
I have met people and I'm like, I know you.
Because when you fall in love, right? Like I don't know if you know this, but I had a love of my life, right? His name was Bobby. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But I felt that, right? Like I felt that connection, and yeah, like there was times where like I know you, right? Like I met you before, and I'm just so grateful that I have you here now, and so that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful.
Thanks.
So, like a lot of people talk about reincarnation, right? Like, but it's sort of like people don't really know.
It's such a difficult topic to understand, and
but how can we understand?
Yeah, and people really don't know, and I don't know anyone who's ever come back. Although, because of the work that I've done, I've seen plenty of things that would scare the average human person. I've seen ghosts or spirits. I've seen very negative presence and very negative vibrations, and I've been called to exorcise.
Right. I was going to ask you that. Like, have you helped people?
I have
those type of situations.
Yeah, it's not the typical. I haven't done the typical exorcisms that we see like in movies.
Well, of course.
But it where things have existed. On Melrose in Normandy, there's this apartment complex, and that was called many years ago. It was right after Christmas. The girls, the parents were working. The girls that were there showed me this video. And I'm like, well, all right, what am I supposed to be looking for? And I see it, and I see someone walk from one room to another. I was like, okay. I didn't see anything unusual. And they tell me, we don't know who that person is. And so I did some blessings, holy water, incense.
Yeah.
I'm a believer in the rosary. I pray the rosary, once a week for the most part. I try to on Thursdays, Facebook Live. And,
amazing.
Yeah.
So, people, Facebook Live, Thursdays,
yes,
on Facebook.
About 7:30, 7:45. I'm always running late. What's up with that? No.
So tell them your Facebook so that people have the opportunity to log in.
So I've got my own personal Facebook page, Reverend Alejandro Escoto. I have the churches. We got English and Spanish. Iglesia Fundadora de la Comunidad Metropolitana, Los Angeles, and Founders Metropolitan Community Church. That's on Facebook. We have on Instagram, Rev Alejandro Escoto. X, what used to be Twitter, Rev Alejandro Escoto. And on Instagram, we also have the church, Founders Metropolitan Community Church. We don't have it in Spanish yet, but I'm working because it's hard work.
Yes. If you want to be enlightened, please, follow Reverend Alejandro Escoto, and just be enlightened. Do the rosary with him on Thursdays.
Yeah.
At what time?
It's like 7:45.
7:45. So from 7:45, log in. But there's like different modalities, right? Like just going back to this cleansing, if you will, right? Like trying to get rid of negative energies that people sometimes have, right? Um, I've learned different techniques from different people, primarily like indigenous traditions, like using sage. And so I was told by a couple of different people that I do have a gift.
Yes.
And that I need to, that I should not be egoísta, right? Like that I should not be selfish, that I need to, share that with people.
It takes a lot of work, a lot of energy.
Yeah. And so so a couple of different indigenous people have taught me how to, I even have, so like I've used copal, and I've used, I have my own, they made me my burner, basically. And I have a concha, that I use.
Yes, I've seen you.
Yeah, I have a concha that I use, and like on people and stuff like that. And so those are like my healing tools. Those are like the things that I was encouraged to use. And I do that once in a while. I don't do it for everyone.
Yeah.
But it's, it's part of my gift, that I share with people. That I didn't know I could do that.
Yeah, and then take someone with insight and with spiritual vision to be able to see the aura, to be able to connect with the vibe, and to be able to just sense it and feel it. Some people do it very selfishly, and many don't have it, but they, I've been blessed with the ability to sometimes, not always, but to just hear what people are thinking.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And it's very challenging because someone lying to me, and I hear the truth. And I was like, it doesn't happen always, and it's not always very clear,
And through my process and my learning, right, I also have learned that I need to protect myself, right?
Big time.
So how do you protect yourself?
I use the
negativity.
Yeah, I use one is the sense of gratefulness, during the course of the day and night. And as I express the sense of gratefulness, I also do either the bubble, as I call it, or the cone. And so the bubble, it's like I'm like the Reverend Alex in the bubble. Walking is just going, it's like a big bubble, just walks with me. And any negative energy bounces right off. And anything good that I need seeps through.
Yeah. But in those particular situations, for instance, right? Like when you went to that building that you mentioned, right? Yeah, how did you protect yourself from those spirits?
I use that, and I also invoke the presence of the archangels. And I'm a firm believer in angels. I'm a firm believer in archangels. I'm a firm believer in the spiritual essence that surrounds us. And so whenever I pray, most of the time, if not all the time, it's in real time. It's in real time, and yes,
prayer is that protection.
Yes, for that protection, even like, for example, extra money in the bank account, or, like, oh, thank you for that donation, and, or, I proclaim myself healthy when I'm not feeling so well, and I invoke the presence. And that's how I do it. With Saint Michael the Archangel, I invoke his sword. Use the sword to cut away. And Archangel Gabriel, keep away any negative messaging. And Gabriel is the one that went to Mary to say, girl, you're going to have a child. That's be the Lord's child.
That's so beautiful.
Yes, and then, of course, Raphael, Uriel, who represent health and light. And I'm always asking, one of the prayers that I say constantly is, bless me, God, bless me indeed. Enlarge my territories. Give me the ability to learn how to receive what you're giving me, that I may use it for my goodness and for others to glorify you. May your hand protect me from all harm, that I may be free from pain. Angels of God surround me. And I'm imagining right now, angels of God surround us.
Yes.
Angels of God accompany us.
Yes.
Angels of God protect us.
Yes.
And those who are in tune can often feel, like musachista, your hair standing. No.
So, obviously, I believe in the spirituality. I believe in, that key, right? For all of us to heal, for all of us to be at a better place, right? And so, what do you think needs to happen for the world to really get this concept of our spirituality, of healing? How do we encourage people to find that?
That we need to connect to that collectiveness, to the collective understanding and belief that we are all connected. It doesn't matter what our beliefs are. It doesn't matter what our color is. It doesn't matter what our gender. It doesn't matter how we see ourselves, how we perceive ourselves. It doesn't matter,
or who we would have sex with,
or who we have sex
or
with,
when we have sex.
Yeah, or when. But if you want to share,
right.
No. and
stay after the rosary, right?
Amen.
Right.
And so
that's the kicky part.
That is the kinky, honey, because it's all good, honey. It's celebrating yourself. All parts.
Yes.
All parts. And so when people can see you as whole, and as we see ourselves being connected, then we're not going to think as someone as the other. We may not understand, but because we don't understand, we come to the understanding that that person is still connected to me in one way or another. And that allows us to not judge, to love people for who they are, for what they are, for however they are, and to allow the compassion and the mercy and the empathy bind us. Because somebody in another continent is sitting down talking with somebody. How can I do better? And where we're at, somebody is talking. How can I do better? And that vibe, that spiritual vibe, is connecting us because everyone seeks the same thing. And if we live a life and we're not judging another for who, what, however.
So stop pointing
and start embracing. And who cares if they have a bigger house? Because let me tell you, the material in time will not exist. Not que ver. Because I'm sorry, folks. Cuando se muere el cuerpo,
sí.
También se mueren los bienes.
Sí, sí.
And someone's going to want to take it away from you. Right. The more you have, the more insecurity you have about protecting it.
Yeah.
And when we are free of that by being detached from judging, detached from withholding love, detached from holding compassion, don't judge the people crossing the street, however they may look, but love them. And one of my practices is I tell people every day, I love them. And they don't even know it because I think it. And I send that energy. And how many times have I stood crossing the street and I look over and I think, I love you.
Yeah.
May you be blessed. And all of a sudden they just look up.
Yeah.
Children do that to me all the time. Children are like, they reach out to me. And the parents are like, oh, they never do that.
Well, because children are divine, right?
Yes, and they see. I said, it's not me, it's the angels.
Right. like children start being corrupted by us.
Yeah.
You know? Primarily by their parents.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, they learn to judge.
right.
They learn to you don't love that person. You know, you don't have compassion for them. You know, empathy. No, there's nothing empathetic. You have nothing to do with them. And so we create incredible division.
And the
And
beautiful thing is that as we grow, right? Like, you know, you share with us your experience and the traumas that you went through, right? But you, and I want to say also myself and many other people, right? Like the beauty of that is that we grow to learn and to heal.
yes,
And I think it's important to understand that
yes,
healing is available if we want.
If we want, yes. And this is Christian mentality that says, oh, no, you don't seek a therapist. You seek your pastor. But a handful of people have come to me and have said, I'm seeing a psychologist and psychiatrist now, and I'm on meds. I'm like, glory, hallelujah. You have any extra pills? You know? You know, and I say, I'm proud of you. I say, I'm proud of you. You know, and I tell people, you know, when there's conflict at the church, because the church is like any other body, you know, when there's conflict, I tell people, you have a therapist. If you don't, you better find one, because whatever you're doing here stems from something deeper. And if we could come to understand, have light of the situation and have more clarity and heal.
Mhm.
Because if we can heal others through our example, then someone else can know that they too can do it.
Can you just, to close our session, we've been having a wonderful and amazing
Oh my God, I love
conversation.
it. I love it.
Time just like,
Como mantequilla en un sartén bien caliente.
sí, sí. But to close the session, can you just send us a message of love that you want to leave us with?
Yes, yes. You know, there are things that are not, they're always conditional. But love is the one thing that we can embrace that can have no condition.
Yes.
And when we see someone else, whether we know them or not, let us wish them love. Let us wish them wellness. Let us wish them a life of abundant blessings. And when we wish someone well, love and blessings, that comes back to us.
Yes.
And when we share love without expecting anything in return, detach yourself from the outcome. The blessings that manifest in one's life are just incredible. Don't ask, what am I going to get out of this?
Mhm.
Just say, I love you.
Yeah.
I wish you well. And I bless you abundantly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Beautiful people. I mean, this session has been incredible. Thank you. Thank you for giving us your light and for your presence and for everything that you share with us. We want to thank you, beautiful people, for tuning in, for sharing space with us, and for learning with us today. Our hope that is that we have given you a little bit of knowledge, enjoy, and that you also feel inspired. We hope that you use your power to change the world, that you can influence others to do the same. And always, always remember to live free, to be you, to live out loud, and to be fearless. With much love and respect, always. Hasta la próxima. Besos. Thank you, dear.
Thank you. I adore you. I love you. Thank you for having me here.
The Fearless People podcast is a product of Bamby Salcedo and is produced by Mejia TV and can be found in all major podcast platforms. You can support this podcast by liking this episode and subscribing to it. You can also support my retirement by rating this podcast and following me on social media. Thank you so much.